Hi, I've been following Paul McWhorter's Pico W lessons, and recently he's been using the MPU 6050 sensor, which you can use to measure acceleration, and by measuring the acceleration you can get the angle of the tilt of your sensor and things like that. And then he went on to gyros, and I decided to do my own thing with this because the problem with the Sunfounder kit, I really wish that they had included an MPU 9250 which combines the MPU 6050 with a magnetometer, because I thought that would be fun, because my plan was, as well as measuring tilt and acceleration and everything, was to be able to make a compass. And I also found out how you could take an ordinary servo and take it apart and make it into a 360-degree servo. This did not go well, unfortunately, so I've ordered myself one. But I've also got my magnetometer. Now the problem is, this is my board setup, which is a terrible mess, and the reason is that I have to use, I'm using this Pico breadboard kit, which is excellent, but you're using female to male leads, which means you can't use the nice little ones like that because they don't fit. So it means you've got this real higgledy-piggledy thing. Now my problem was, I thought, well, if I'm using the OLED and the MPU 6050 and the magnetometer, the way that Paul's been doing his using the i2c bus, it means you have one device on 0 and one device on 1. I thought, well, what do you do with the third one? So I've kind of looked at the i2c, and I've realized that you can use lots of devices on one bus, but you have to get the address of the device. So at the moment with this, I will tell you how I've wired it up in a minute, but at the moment I've got 3 devices plugged in. So if I go to here, I've got a nice little program that you just decide whether you're using i2c 0 or 1. I'm using 0, and then you can just scan to see what devices are connected. So I will show you what it does. Right, I've got 3 devices, and there are the addresses of them. And if you want to find out which one's which, you just unplug 2 of them, and then you can ascertain that that's the oh, it doesn't matter which one's which, does it? Anyway, that is great. So it means that they can differentiate between them. But the problem is, on this board, if I'm connecting to pins 12 and 13 for the SCL and the SDA, and I can only connect to one of them. I can only connect to one. So what I've done is I've taken a lead and I've put it over there in a column at random on my breadboard. And so 1 column's for the SCL and 1 column's for the SDA, and it means that I can plug in 3, in fact I could have plugged in 4, but I didn't have any more devices there. So they are all going connecting to pin 12 and 13, and I thought about actually using, if I wanted more devices, I thought I could actually have the top line along there being SDA and the bottom line being SCL, and just because that is normally ground and power in, then it doesn't matter. But anyway, I decided not to do that. But if you are using the standard without using this breadboard kit, if you're just plugging things in, I've just set up this to show you what you could do. Now I've shunted my Pico over, so I can still plug one thing in on that side, but on this side it means I've got room for all three. So I've got, again, a big jumble, but of course with this I could have just used normal ones. And so I've got 3 outputs from pin 12 and 3 outputs from pin 13, and you just plug it in. So I will just show you my program. I could run it. Maybe I'll run my program and show that it still does work. Right. Or I'll put it down because it needs to calibrate. I will. It says calibrating. Don't move it. Don't move it. Don't move it. Don't move it. Great. Now when you move it, we can look at what it. Can I get that to look any better? No. If I turn on a bit more light. Yes, look. You can see pitch, roll, and then there's a little bubble. So that is what lesson number 45 wanted you to do. So that proves that having an extra thing plugged in the magnetometer hasn't made any difference to the OLED and the MPU 6050, which is handy. So if we stop running that, and I will just show you, I haven't really gone into the magnetometer yet. This is for my final solution. Ultimate solution sounds a bit better. Right, so with this I've just cobbled something together because the software that was recommended with the WaveShare BM, yes, this is a BMM150 3-axis magnetometer, and I've had to use software from somewhere else because it didn't work. So this, if I run this, this will also give you data from moving this around without it being interfered with because of the OLED and the other thing. So what you do, I will just show you the only changes I've made to my program. This is my original lesson 45 where I'm calibrating, formatting degrees, and then that's all to do with the OLED. But up here is where I've changed it. I'm just using one SDA, one SCL pin, and that bus, and then with the OLED, when I've done it in 2 lines to make it look easier. So I'm just defining the dimensions of the OLED, and then address equals OLED address. So it means that if it wants to communicate with the OLED, it uses that address, which is great. And then the MPU does the same thing. The syntax of how you do it, I mean, on the OLED it was just ADDR, and on the MPU 6050 library it wanted device address, and it didn't want to accept the actual address, it just wanted 0 or 1 depending on which one you were using. But anyway, this is just to show you that you can connect lots of different devices to your Pico, and might come in useful, but it might not.